Chapter 32 of Psychopomp Drive. Written by Janeen Leese-Taylor. Read aloud by SkyAsimaru. Chapter 32 Second Chances. A knock on the door roused Thorn from her sleep. Not that she was getting much sleep with everything that had happened. She peeled herself up off the sheets and turned on the bedside lamp, walking through the house in bare feet as she pulled her wavy hair back from her face and secured it in a loose ponytail. She grabbed the keys from the bowl by the door and slid into the small space to yank open the outside door. Her eyes widened with surprise as she took in the visage of her visitor, all the way from his black jacket to the points of his dark ears. "Finn!" she breathed, rushing forward to pull him into a relieved hug. "Thank God you're all right!" He held her tightly, wrapping her up in his tight grip like he could hold her there forever. "Are you alone?" he asked. She pulled back and nodded. "Yeah, the others went home about an hour ago when they heard the craziness was dying down. You want to come in?" He nodded as she led him inside, and he closed the glass inner door behind him. He looked around the room with a small half-smile, as if he was trying to memorize it, his green eyes falling on each wooden animal in turn. He reached out to lift a tiny cat carved out of driftwood. "I remember when you bought this," he remarked, turning it over in his grip gently, like it was made of glass. "You practically screamed the shop down because it looked like Poppy." Thorn laughed and came to stand next to him, smiling at the ornament fondly. "It's not every day you see a rare treasure like this one." "The store owner didn't know how to react," he chuckled. "Poor woman thought you were demented." Thorn shrugged playfully. "I have that effect on people." Her smile fell away when she noted the change in his expression and watched as he set the cat back down onto the mantelpiece again. "Something happened," she said. His feline ears twisted towards her and his bright eyes turned away. "Reichardt, the guy that was here before." He swallowed down the rising emotion in his throat, feeling the tide of it threatening to overwhelm him again. "He's gone." "Oh," the pink-haired woman gasped. "Oh, Finn, I'm so sorry." He exhaled a breath, reaching up a hand to push back his wet and curling hair. "He made a choice," he said. "He used a spell that helped us to defeat that hollow, but there's no coming back from it." "So it's really gone? The destroyer?" she questioned, stepping closer so that she could reach out and touch his chest. She had gotten used to the lack of heartbeat she felt there, but the sensation of his cold skin was still rather strange. The Amarini nodded. "She's gone." Thorn tilted her head to one side questioningly. "What does this mean?" "It means they're going to make the whole city forget what happened," Finley explained. He reached out to touch her face, her shoulders, her hair. "Erase the last few days from the memories of everyone who was there." Her expression fell. "I'm going to forget you too, aren't I?" He met her blue eyes in the darkness. "It's the only way, Thorn." Her brows furrowed as she shook her head quickly. "No!" she argued. "That isn't fair! I can't! I won't!" He leaned in to brush her lips with his own, and she sank into his shape. He could feel her tears against his skin. He wished that he could pour out every feeling into her, let her know how much he loved her, how much he would always love her. Eternity seemed like such a long time. He created the smallest bit of distance between them and breathed in the scent of her, cataloging every minuscule detail of her like he was painting her in his memories. Her eyes opened again to look up at him as if she were reading his thoughts. She had been the only fact in his life, the only thing that had given meaning to this otherwise out-of-control universe. And he loved her enough to let her find that again. "When I'm gone," he whispered, "I need you to keep living." She frowned. "No, Finn, this isn't fair. I just got you back again." He traced a hand along the shape of her cheekbone, her chin. "I was never back, Thorn," he whispered. "This was just a second chance for us to say goodbye." He could feel the heat of her tears as they brushed against his thumb. She brought her lower lip into her mouth. Her breaths were beginning to tremble. "Don't say that." "You and I both know that our story has already been written. We just have to add the final words." He pressed his lips to hers again. "I love you," he breathed, and kissed her again. "I love you." Another kiss, firmer and filled with emotion. "I will always love you." "Finn," she choked, "please." "You need to say it," he urged her. "We may not get another chance." She closed her eyes and let out a quiet sob as he touched her face, his hands pulling her into another kiss. "No matter where I am, I will never stop loving you." "I love you too," she answered him. She leaned into his embrace and let her tears flow freely, holding him like a child holds a safety blanket, something that has always protected them from the world they didn't understand. It was like losing him all over again, and her throat burned with the intensity of her hurt. "I'll come find you," she breathed. She reached out and grasped the wooden ornament, pressing the feline into his hands. "I swear I'll find you, even if it takes an eternity." He slipped the cat into his pocket, where it nestled in beside a pair of damaged glasses. "Goodbye, Rose Daniels," he said, and kissed her one final time. "I hope you live a life as extraordinary as you are." Epilogue. 214 seasons had passed by in the blink of an eye. Sunsets turned to sunrises, each new day bringing with it hope and opportunities for the world waking up beneath their feet. From high above the city of Chester, the Amarini, known as Finley Evans, watched and waited, as he always did, ready to jump at the slightest hint of a hollow. As the sleepy city began to awaken once more, the smell of coffee and the sound of church bells signaled the end of his patrol. He placed the reaper known as Sassy onto the holster at his back and leapt across the rooftops as silent as smoke. His black cloak billowed around him, the ends catching in the wind. Miles beneath him the living would not hear a sound. Such was the magic of the underground. The familiar chorus of seagulls led him back towards the quiet entrance to Psychopomp Drive, and he pulled down his hood and stepped inside as the tiles unveiled their hidden door. He waved at the new guardians of the gate, the Irish sisters, Bob and Morgan, and continued on past the canine shape of Anubis and his skeletal companion, Charon. The melody of Psychopomp Drive flowed through him as surely as any heartbeat now, joining him to the other spirits of the in-between, as if by the flowing rivers they guarded beneath their feet. When he entered number 16, laying Sassy down against the back of the sofa, he was surprised to find not one cat-like grim awaiting him, but two. Breton, Salo's younger littermate, nodded in acknowledgment as he came to stand by the table. Pure white, with eyes like frozen glaciers, Breton had made herself comfortable on Spectre's lap, enjoying the attention the pale-skinned Amarini was lavishing on her. "Breton," Finley said, as he grabbed a drink from the fridge. "This is a surprise. What brings you by?"
"Breton has chosen her 8th,
Spectre elated, grinning from ear to ear.
"We're finally getting a new Amarini."
Next to him, Abby rolled her eyes fondly, laying back in the comfortable armchair.
"Couldn't keep it in any longer, could you, hen?"
Finley's ears perked up tall on his head as he drank.
"Well, it's about damn time,"
he remarked playfully as he wiped his mouth on the back of his sleeve.
"You were way too fussy with your candidates."
Breton's pale pink nose twitched at that.
"Well, this one made it very easy," she replied. "They requested the position personally."
"Wait,"
Finley started, laying down his half-emptied bottle on the tabletop by his hip.
"What do you mean by requested?"
The white grim stretched as she stood, hopping across the kitchen to stand by the far door. She lifted one back paw and knocked against the door 3 times.
"You can come out now, dear,"
she offered cheerfully. The door to the pantry peeled inwards, and the figure of a new spirit slowly stepped out into the living room. Her eyes were the color of spring sunshine, her hair a tangle of grays and pale pinks. Even after 5 decades, she was still the most beautiful person that Finley Evans had ever laid eyes on. The Amarini smiled, the white ears on the top of her head dancing.
"Sorry to have kept you waiting, Finn,"
Thorne said. And they died happily ever after. The end. The author, Janeen Leese-Taylor, a.k.a. Landry, was born in the town of Coleraine in Northern Ireland. She spends her free time running marathons around the Causeway Coast and making up stories to amuse her friends and family. She is an avid lover of all things tattoo-related and thinks that audiobooks are the bee's knees. She lives with her husband, Liam, their border collie cross, Zarya, and their guinea pig, Peekaboo, who she one day fears will take over the world. You can follow them on their social media pages under the name @Ink and Smudge and @Ink and Smudge Books. The narrator, SkyAsimaru, records from a home studio in the mountains of North Carolina, USA. You can find her on social media pages under the name @SkyAsimaru and @SkyAsimaru Narrations. This recording was completed in March 2024. Thank you for listening.